So our prompt is about how. Does anybody want to read it? Does anyone have it?
Yes. How is beauty in the expert of poetry like or not like what Edmund Burke would see as beautiful? Is Cupid beautiful? Does Psyche fit Burke's characteristics of beauty? We'll start with those first 3 questions. There's a lot of questions.
Okay, so how is beauty in this excerpt of poetry like or not like what Burke would see as beautiful?
Well, me and Brooke had like a minor discussion before when we were waiting for everybody, but we were kind of talking about how there's not really, as far as Burke's point of view, about the physical beauty, there wasn't a lot written about what the physical beauty was. And so it was very interesting because a lot of Burke's point of view is the physical aspect, but at the same time that everyone had the same idea of beauty because everyone felt like Psyche was beautiful. Because I felt like it was not, there was no focus on Cupid per se, but it was all about the focus of Psyche's beauty. And that's all that they, I guess, that if we're talking about beauty, that's everything that was focused on was her beauty and how the goddess Venus was jealous of her beauty and how she became beautiful, therefore the Cupid fell in love with her, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
So you, oh sorry, like you think that Burke, like what do you mean in relation to what Burke's ideas were?
Burke's idea was that everyone is to have the same point of view of what beauty is. So it seems that in the stories and in the poem that everyone had the same idea of what beauty is because everybody fawned over Psyche. But the thing that wasn't really discussed in that is the physical aspects of beauty. And there wasn't much detail. There wasn't like much detail about her physical aspects per se. At least what I was reading in the poem and in that introductory part.
I think that the writer omitted the physical aspect of beauty. I mean, he wasn't trying to like explain or like bring up a logical argument to why Psyche is beautiful because of this, because of this. He just says like she's the most beautiful. So I think because it's like more in his written in a literary sense rather than like a scientific sense, the writer leaves it up to the readers to like, okay, what do you imagine is beautiful, and then imagine that's Psyche, like imagine the most beautiful. So like this style of writing leaves beauty more up to interpretation rather than you know, some type of reasoning or explanation as Burke did. So that's one, I guess, yeah. But they both agree. I agree that they both agree that it's universal. Like everyone thinks she's beautiful. But then it's also not universal because then the reader gets to decide this is what Psyche probably looks like. You know, like you can interpret the beauty yourself.
And they didn't explain much detail about Psyche's looks, but I don't remember exactly what they said, but I do remember thinking that the way that they described Psyche and the way that they described Cupid was really similar to one another, which kind of just supports the point that beauty is, like, in Burke's perspective, beauty is universal. Everyone has the same idea because both of them were described so beautifully and they were described so similarly.
Okay. Is Cupid beautiful? Good question. He kind of does describe Cupid, like Cupid's physical appearance when Psyche like looks, like puts the lantern on him to spy on him, and she sees like his youthful skin and, you know, like his ringlet, his gold ringlet. So he's just like the picture of the Cupid, the god, you know, like completely youthful and glowing and golden and probably very beautiful.
Okay, so when they say ringlets, do they mean like curls or do they mean piercings? Because I was very confused. I was like,
oh, curls.
Kind of, okay, curls. I was like, why do I have a whole bunch of piercings? I don't get it. Okay.
Yeah, like curly hair.
Okay.
It's like delicate and gold, and it kind of fits into Burke's idea as well because it's like youthful, like smooth skin,
yeah,
radiant colors, delicate like hair, delicate face, delicate body, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah, and I think Burke described, like I said in the other one, he described a lot of femininity, and although this is like applied to like a male character, a lot of his description is very feminine, like the golden curls and his wings and stuff like that. And everything is just like very smooth and has the feminine, femininity to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that feeling when he was trying to put the potion on Psyche, and then he just kind of like got surprised and he poked himself. He just seemed like so delicate.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know, like, I poke myself, but I gotta finish what my mom said. I need to. Ouch. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we've concluded that he is beautiful in both of their ideas of beauty. Okay. Does Psyche fit Burke's characteristics of beauty? Oh, I kind of went over that.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the physical features that he mentions, but does have feminine qualities, and it's up to our interpretation.
I also think what's really important, as far as like the femininity part and like the frailty of Psyche, is that if you think back on her 3 tasks, it was never like she did every single task all by herself. It was the pity that everyone felt for her, the sorrow that they all felt for her, and they all helped her out. Not saying that maybe she wasn't going to, maybe she did do the best that she could, but at the same time, there were some aspects where, you could have tried a little bit harder before you got
I think on every task.
Yeah, every trial that she had to have, that she went through, it was that that frailty of, I can't do this by myself, even though she didn't verbally say it out loud. It was just everyone helping this poor child who was forced to do all of these really hard tasks.
Right. Yeah. And I do, so in Burke's, I think it was Burke, his writings said something along the lines of like, strength isn't necessarily beautiful. It's like humility and modesty and like frailty, like you were saying. And it, like, she definitely displayed that, and people were kind of looking at her because she was beautiful. They like assumed that she was also like frail and kind of weak and helped her out. And whoever wrote the whatever we read, like definitely made it seem like she was gonna go and she was gonna do the wrong thing, and people what am I saying? And people stopped her before she could. It's like,
no, it makes sense.
I don't know.
I get what you're saying. Like her physical appearance allowed everyone around her to make judgments about her character, kind of, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that kind of relates to our discussion from last time where we were comparing like Burke's ideas of beauty to what they are in the 21st century. Because if like a main character in a movie today were to be like Psyche, beautiful and just so needy, she would definitely be seen as frowned upon instead of like still the beautiful mortal that she is now.
True. Everyone now is starting to admire strength, like reshaping ideas of beauty. So let's see. What are some things that we can? It says we have to quote Burke. I don't remember where I saw this, but it said our paper should quote Burke's works at least twice.
Yeah.
So let's just make sure we've covered different parts of his paper. So
we definitely have at least one quote.
The delicacy part. The delicacy. Let's see. He said that all of these things don't determine beauty. This should be physical ideas of beauty. So we can just quote how his idea of beauty is different. Like he says that like strength doesn't determine beauty. When in the poem strength kind of does. Like if you're weak, people will kind of feel pity over you and fall over you. I don't know. That might be. Okay. Does this change how we think about beauty? Oh, we missed a question. Is it significant that Cupid gets into problems because of Psyche's beauty? Ooh. Good question.
That one's hard to determine. I would say yes, it is significant because that's kind of just the whole plot of how because if Psyche just did all of the thing without Cupid, she probably would have just been miserable. But because of Cupid intervening and falling in love with her, she kind of like found happiness and was able to not contain that misery, because part of what happened with Venus was that she wanted her to be miserable, so she asked Cupid to like shoot her with whatever this weird god poison was for her to remain miserable and for her to not be in love with for her to not find love of any sort. But because of her beauty and his desire to have her, like that was part of how the plot line of how she was able to, I guess, find him in the end. Does that make sense?
So Cupid fell in love with her because she was beautiful.
I think that's honestly part of the reason why he went through all this trouble.
Well, I think also like everyone was in love with her because of her beauty, and then Cupid fell in love with her because of the little spell. And then, sorry, I'm still trying to develop my thoughts on this, but
yeah.
So, how do I put this? Begin that Cupid gets into problems because of his beauty. There's one part that stuck out to me, where Venus was saying like, "You're so useless." I'm not using the same words, but basically she said, "You're so useless and insignificant that only your diligence and your like."
Oh yeah.
Only what you do will make you worth it for your husband. Like Venus put her down and was like, "You're not even worth anything. Only
you're not doing anything."
Yeah, only you worshiping Cupid is enough. Will make up for your uselessness. So I thought like that's really funny because Venus, like, I don't know, she values her beauty, but then she also thinks that it's not as useful as having merit or something, like some type of accomplishment.
Right. Any other comments?
Cupid fell in love. Sorry, Cupid fell in love with her because because of the potion. But then the reason why he messed up the potion because he was like startled by her you know, like when she like
Yeah.
he got startled by her, and it's
yeah. Crazy. All right, next question. Does this change how we
think about beauty?
I don't know if it's necessarily change. I think it's more of understanding about what people thought of beauty back in the day. Like, I think it's pathetic that you have to be this cutesy, frail little girl to, I guess, be viewed as beautiful. But I guess reading through it, it kind of gives you an understanding of what they thought back in the day. But I also, like you said, about how the author leaves that beauty up to interpretation, because then everyone's point of view kind of changes over time, but it's still like a significant story in the end.
I think so Psyche's name means soul, right? And like,
Yeah.
So they just like romanticize her beauty, you know, like they're probably exaggerating her beauty. Like, if I would want to tell a story about some girl, like she was the most beautiful girl in school, like everyone loved her, and people would be like, no, we didn't. So they probably romanticized her just to like really emphasize all of the feelings that happen when you fall, when you like are focused on something beautiful, like jealousy and like obsession and rage and curiosity, and mostly a lot of jealousy too. So not always good to be beautiful because you're just living in a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, I might be like way off track, which is it's possible that I'm like way off track. But when I was reading it, I was thinking more of like I wasn't relating the story as much to Burke as I was remembering what Kent. Oh my gosh, Julia. Okay. It's okay, guys.
Nicole's loud cry.
Okay. Anyway, I wasn't thinking as much, like relating the story as much to what Burke's ideas were, as I was relating them back to Kent's ideas. Now I kind of forget what I was saying. Why did I think that? Oh yeah, because like I was saying, I might be kind of off track, but Psyche was like going through her trials that Venus gave her. I felt like she, like especially for like the first two, she really just sat there and waited for help, and it kind of made me think about how like something like beautiful doesn't mean it's useful in any way. Like it's really exterior, and like that was reminding me of Kent's ideas more so than Burke's, because I felt like Kent recognized that Burke did. Yeah, which again might be off track.
No, that's totally not off track. I'm off track. I'm like way all over the place. Anyway, yeah, I think it reinforces our ideas. Basically, like it doesn't really change, like Nicole said. It just like reinforces our thoughts. Like you don't have to be weak to be beautiful. You know, you can be useful. You can be strong. But that's because we have this mindset already.
Right. We live in a world where there's a lot of feminists, but like not in the sense of crazy feminists of I want to be equal, I demand this, but in the sense of I'm not just a housewife. I'm a lot more than you think. I am your equal, like to man.
So yeah, I think that's such a good thought. I love that.
Yeah. Because if you think a lot about the feminists in the world, they always want to be above men because they were looked down upon. But I think, like, especially within the church and just the just the thought of, you know, the Relief Society and within the church alone, we always think, like, even for guys, for some guys, it's actually, they think they admire women that can hold their own ground, kind of thing, because they don't want to have to always take care of the whole family and not have any support, kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know. It also helped because, like, a lot of the women in my family, they can hold their own. They don't just sit down and wait for the man to, like, take control. They have control themselves, sometimes a little bit more than needs to be, but overall, it's like they can be equal.
So we're questioning, like, the rules of women. At the same time, there is so much power in beauty. Like, even though, like, he doesn't really do anything, there's so much power in her beauty. She, like, invokes attention and jealousy from God, and she makes Cupid fall in love with him, all these people. So we can also think of it not just as, like, her being weak, but we can look at it as beauty being her strength, like her, like her virtue. Like, just because she's weak in other parts doesn't mean she's, like, I know we're, like, totally contradicting ourselves, but maybe it'll help develop the paper. I don't know, but yeah, there's another way to look at it. Like,
that's true. That's a good point.
Yep. Okay. Okay, it's 8:36 right now, so.
So are we supposed to write a prompt, or are we just supposed to answer the questions? Where's the prompt?
Okay, now one assigned member of your group should put together a response to the poem using the conversation you have. Remember to quote both Burke and Tighe at least twice. Each paper should be 1.5 pages. Start with a statement comparing Burke and Tighe, then back it up with your evidence. I think that's the prompt.
Okay. You just compare them.
Yeah.
One leaves it up to your interpretation, and one is very physical.
Who wants to write it?
I would like to write this. It's due on Friday, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I can write this one.
Okay. Should we come up with a thesis together, and then that way it will help you out?
Sure.
And then for the writings, at least from what the message that I got, any of our group writings, we have at the end of the page, at the very last page, we have to just put in the link to our video there.
Yeah, I saw that just yesterday. Do you think we're okay? Because I didn't put in any link at the end of our last paper.
I messaged her. I emailed her and said that
because I didn't remember seeing that before.
We didn't.
No, it came after.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she'll probably give us a break.
I think maybe it's because you sent her the link. Maybe that's why she might have sent it to all of us saying, hey, just so you know, make sure to add the link at the end, kind of thing. Okay. Or something like that.
Okay, so what is our thesis?
So are we comparing in the sense that we're just going to be focusing on the areas that they agreed upon, or?
Where's the thingy that shows the prompt? I'm looking and I'm getting a different page. Are there two different pages?
For the Cupid and Psyche?
Yeah.
I think there's just one. The very bottom.
Okay. Oh.
Maybe it's just taking one of the questions.
Where's the prompt?
So if you go to the calendar and it says Cupid and Psyche. Click on that, and then at the very bottom, it says compare Burke and how do you say it? Tighe.
Tighe, yeah.
And back it up with evidence. There isn't like.
Oh, there. Okay. There
Yeah.
Sorry, I completely missed that. Start with a statement comparing Burke and Tighe, then back it up with evidence. Oh, on the same page. Okay. So Burke and Tighe are like, one is logical with his idea of beauty, and one is more
Up for
whimsical.
Yeah, he's more liberal with it.
Okay. Yeah, I think. I wonder why we have to discuss all that other stuff. Do I have to write that in my paper? Put that in the paper?
I think that part of the reason of the questions is to, I guess, bring up evidence and background as far as things that we can write in the paper.
Okay.
So to make it like flow, I guess.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's a pretty short paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that what all the things that we discussed will be like
okay,
done.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, you guys.
Okay, so I wrote some notes, and it should all be, and then I wrote the thesis. At least you can change it up, but that should all be in the group folder on Google Docs.
Thank you so
Yep.
much, Nicole. You guys are so.
You're welcome. Okay, so when is the next time we should meet?
So our next thing is due
on Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Oh shit.
Maybe Monday, since it's not a holiday. This coming Monday.
Fashion Regency.
The
one, right?
Yeah, fashion. Yeah,
18th.
18th Century Beauties is on our own.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jake, have you filled out the schedule thing? The schedule spreadsheet?
No.
Okay.
I haven't even heard of that yet.
Okay. So we don't have to keep reminding each other, like, I'm free, I have class. So we just have them in one place. All right. Anything else, guys?
I think that's it.
Okay. I'll stop the broadcast and send it in.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you guys. Let us know if you need anything.
Bye.